So thank you all again for coming here today. We're going to talk about our design presentation for CHEE 514, Sustainable Water Supplies for Remote Communities. These slides are created with help from Dr. Vicky Cara Nicola. She and a bunch of other team members that you'll see later have been such a great help for this project. Before I begin, I just want to say Yata'e, and we are on Tohono O'odham land. This is a picture taken from Windy Point on Mount Lemmon. And as you can see, it's beautiful landscape. We need to appreciate the land we are on and moving forward. So about CHEE 514, just a quick side note, this is originally designed as a capstone course for the graduate interdisciplinary program. It's now open to all grad students. So it's not just as that capstone course. We want to try to bring in as many students, diverse perspectives as we can into this course. We also want to focus on water aspects for half of the course. That's where it's been designed. It's one of those last little chunks of information that our INDIGE-FEWSS students need. And for the second half, we're doing a design of a water system through an interdisciplinary lens. All right, so now on to the project. So this is what students worked on for the second half of this semester. And for us to get a good idea of what the project is about, we need to start by understanding the Navajo Nation a little bit more. Some of you all may have already heard this before, so I apologize if it's reiterating a lot of information. But for those that don't know, the Navajo Nation is actually the largest Native American land. It's monstrous. It occupies the Four Corners outside of Colorado. In 2010, the population was around 200,000, and it's grown over the past decade. There is a population density of less than 10 people per square mile, and that's where one of the main challenges for our design group is for. Whenever you have such dispersed peoples, it can be fairly hard to have the infrastructure or the amenities that you see in a city like Tucson. There is listed as a very high poverty rate. Now, depending on your source, this could be lower, but in general, the poverty rate has been estimated to be around 42% for the Navajo Nation. So if we can find ways to help lift up the population and they're wanting to accept that help, then that is definitely something we can do. Another aspect is this is a food desert. So what that means is it's very hard for certain communities being so remote to have easy access to nutritious meals and food products. So if we can keep that in mind and maybe think about bringing in different areas of produce or agriculture, even better. There are over 20,000 households that have no direct access to public water systems, and they have to haul water long distance in order to have that water to sustain life. You'll see that in just a slide, just how vast this is across the Navajo Nation. Haulers often rely on non-potable water resources. If you can imagine, if you have to travel hundreds of miles and spend hours out of your day just to haul water, if you're going to have a well that's very close to your land, or it's even on your land, you might pull from that instead. Unfortunately, those salts and the water quality may be such that you're exposing yourself to heavy metals or even carcinogens or radioactive materials. So if we can find a way to treat that water or have water that's easily accessible, so much better for the population. So a little bit about those houses without potable water. So if you look on this figure, you can see that there are so many little dots there. And those are all homes without water, or potable water in this case. So take a moment, appreciate this graph, see how many families, how many people are there without access to that easily accessible water supply. Not only is it easily hard to access that water supply, the water quality in some of these areas is also very suspect. So if you check out this map, we can see that it's mapping the different uranium levels located in different wells. You notice that there are some pretty big dots there. The biggest dots represent over maximum contaminant levels inside the Navajo Nation EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency. Those are wells that you definitely do not want to be pulling water from. And so if we can treat those, that would be so much better for communities in that area. Also note that these areas are also by abandoned uranium mines. Now, whether or not the uranium mines are the exact cause of uranium in the water is up for debate. Regardless, we still have uranium and other contaminants like arsenic in the water that need to be treated and removed. So I want you to pause for a moment. We have lack of access to water, and some of those wells have pollutants in them. So I want you to think, what approaches can we have to treat this water? Take a moment. Think about how you might do that. And so one way we've figured out how to do that with the INDIGE-FEWSS project is using a solar nanofiltration water unit. So you can see a list of names here. These are the heroes, the real heroes of our projects. They're the ones that have had boots on the ground, so to speak. They've been working on this extensively. They've been doing a lot of calculations, mathematics, designing the system. They're the people that deserve a significant amount of credit for this unit. And so if we look at our units, this could be our current system. So let you pause, take a moment to look at this. And if you notice, we're pulling from a well on the right side. That well water goes into a raw water tank. We have these batteries and photovoltaic array. Those are powering a pump. That pump will push water through membranes, not just nanofilters, but there might be a microfilter beforehand as well. Potable water, nice, great drinkable water comes out. And you have this concentrate that comes out that has to be dealt with. It's called brine. And our groups are going to talk about that brine management specifically for their projects. More about that later. So another hero of our project, this guy's name is Yazer. He helped design and physically build these units. So yet another hero of our system. The solar panels on this system are not shown, but if you want to imagine what each group is going to be presenting on, this is one of those units. So our nano filter, which is doing most of the heavy lifting of removing the pollutants out, is on the left. It's the white column. And then we have these little microfilters that are helping prep the water to pass through that filter in the middle. So this is a filtration process. So as a very, very quick background, this is like the lightning information for you. We have nano filters. It's one of 4 types of filters. They're very small pore sizes. Their pore sizes are so small that they can get rid of heavy metals, but regular salts might pass through, the ones that are much smaller. So if you wanted more scientific terminology there, we have divalent and above ions that are rejected, and monovalent ions will pass through. So if we look at this, we have 2 main types of nanofilters we're going to use, an NF90 and an NF270. So both of these are rejecting uranium, as you can see in the red, and the blue shows the water flux, or the amount of water passing through these membranes. So you can imagine you can choose between NF90 or NF270 depending on your location. So question for you all, and this is just feel free to thumbs up or clap for which one you choose from. If you needed more water and less uranium removed, which would you select? So thumbs up would be like an NF90, and then maybe make like a clapping emoji for the NF270. Cool. All right, so you guys are pretty much on spot there. So the NF270 is going to be great for if you still need to get uranium or arsenic out of your water, or other radionucleotides, but you need a much bigger flux than the NF90 could do. Great, you get more water coming out, but you don't get quite the same rejection of those heavy metals. So again, this is just one small trade-off that you can choose between these 2 systems. So the reality of the matter is that one of the easier ways to compare our different systems is looking at the cost of water. This does exclude the social, economic, or excuse me, this does include the social, the time, et cetera, and different components of life. But one easy way to compare is, again, the financial side. So if you compare the cost of water in Arizona, which is about 20 to 40 cents per 100 gallons, let's think about how much it costs to haul water. And take a moment, think about how much it costs. Make a prediction here if you don't already know. And so this is actually incredibly shocking to me when I first learned this value. The cost of hauling water is $13.3 per 100 gallons. That is a lot of money, not to mention the time that's spent hauling water to and from, the gas, the vehicle cost is not in there as well. It is so expensive to haul water. And so if we can design some kind of system that could bring that down to a more equitable stance, that could be even better. So our current cost of the nanofiltration system is about 80 cents for the 100 gallons. That is a great number. If we can try to bring that down even further, which is what our design groups have as part of their task, that would be fantastic for our groups. So I've been talking a lot. I just want to get through these main objectives and then give some background, or excuse me, some rules for our presentations, so that then our groups can do the majority of the talking today. So our main objectives, again, provide 100 gallons. We want to look at our existing solar nanofiltration unit and test it for improvements. Minimize the cost of implementation, determine brine management, and then probably the most important aspect of all is factor in the Navajo Nation sovereignty in the ability to select and choose options for the design/application. So that's what each group had as its main tasks. We do have 3 groups ready to present today. So Kyle and Francis, you all will start out. They have a energy recapture device that they looked at. Erisbeth, Sierra, and Sarah have general modifications to the systems. And then we're going to wrap up today with Maggie and Mitchell on some rainwater harvesting addition. Get excited, you all. These presentations are great. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they go. Some quick rules of the game. We're going to do about 12 minutes for presentation, 12 minutes for discussion. Please raise your hand when we're ready to discuss if you have questions or would like to add a point. If you don't have that, you can also private message or feel free to unmute yourself if there is prolonged silence. We also have feedback that we'd like to give to all of our students. So please fill out the feedback. I'll give it to the students next week after we've had time to filter through all the comments. All right, that's it.